Welcome to Legendary Drama. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe to us. A young girl, Wu Yi, and her mother Yeo left their hometown and illegally moved to a bustling city as they were promised a better life. However, they ended up working at a wealthy woman's mansion. Busara is an arrogant and controlling figure who treats her servants unkindly. She enforces strict rules and even prohibits them from making any noise when she is having breakfast. One day, Wu accidentally dropped a steel bowl and made a sound. Her mother took the blame for her and Busara punished Yeo harshly till she bled. This caused Wu to harbor deep resentment against Busara. Busara has a son Thicha whom she sent away to a prestigious school abroad. He struggles with this decision and feels lonely and helpless. He is constantly being bullied and discriminated because he is a foreigner. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Busara continues to mistreat Wu Yi and her mother. One day, Busara receives a call from one of her friends asking her to send Wu Yi to his home for his personal satisfaction. Later, during a party at Busara's mansion, one of her business partners Maddie, who was involved in her illegal business, becomes captivated by Wu Yi's beauty. He demands that Busara lets him have her. To appease Maddie, Busara asked Wu Yi to bring tea to the waiting area. When Maddie entered the room, he demanded Wu Yi to give him a head message. However, Yeo was worried for her daughter's safety and pleaded with Busara to save her daughter. Busara refused and Yeo burst into the room and confronted Maddie when she heard a scream. He is furious and demanded Busara to send Wu Yi to his house and stormed off. Busara ordered Wu Yi to pack her belongings and go to Maddie's house. However, Yeo refused to let her daughter go and that led to a heated argument where Yeo hit Busara. Realizing that they were in danger, they attempted to leave the house that night. However, their plan failed and they were quickly caught by Busara. Busara, consumed by anger, killed Yeo, and Wu Yi watched her mother killed in front of her eyes. Busara is heartless and even ordered Yeo to be buried on the spot and sends Wu Yi off to Maddie's house. When Wu Yi regained consciousness and realized that she was in danger, she used her mother's hairpin to stab one of the men and she ran out of the car. She is pursued relentlessly and was cornered, hence she made a daring leap off a bridge and disappeared. A few years passed, and Wu Yi grew into a successful woman and even changed her identity and name to Thicha and relocated to London. Despite her achievements, she vowed to take revenge for her mother's death. Determined to bring Busara to justice, Thicha tracked down Busara's son Thicha, who was also living in London. Using her beauty and brains, she quickly won Thicha's trust and affection, setting her revenge plan into motion. She intentionally went to an event to bump into him and he visited the coffee shop she frequented and bumped into her again one day. Thicha asked for her phone number and she gave it to him and left. Thicha talked to a woman on the phone and the woman was Niwei. Back to the very day where she managed to escape from Busara, she arrived at a peculiar place to meet a woman named Niwei. Her mother had told her about this lady before her death and Niwei became a mother figure to her. The next day, Thicha goes on a date with Thicha, however the waitress accidentally spilled food on her. She was surprised by how calm and kind Thicha is to the waitress, a stark contrast to his cruel mother. Thicha invited Thicha to his apartment so that she can change into clean clothes. While he was looking for suitable clothes for her, she discreetly drew an imprint of his apartment key on her thigh and snapped a few photos to create a copy. Meanwhile, Busara's spy informed her that her son had brought a woman to his apartment for the first time. Busara instructed her spy to take a photo of the woman if she visits again. Even though so many years passed, Busara was still as heartless and her illegal business grown. The next day, Thicha found Thicha on the street and invited her to a party. She rejected his invitation to the party, but Thicha insisted relentlessly, and she finally agreed to a date with him instead. They ended up drinking wine at a restaurant and Thicha is captivated by Thicha's charm, impulsively kissed her. The pair went back to Thicha's apartment and spent the night together. Busara called her son, but because Thicha fell asleep, he did not answer. Later that night, Thicha woke up and started exploring his apartment. She found anxiety medication hinting at Thicha's mental health issue. As she heard Thicha's phone ringing, she went to look for it. She noticed that it was an incoming call from Busara and answered it. Upon hearing that it was a woman and not her son who answered, she was furious. Thicha remained calm and hands the phone to Pad Chai and left his apartment. From then on, Thicha and Pad Chai spent their days together and became a couple. However, Busara found out about their relationship. Thicha realized that Pad Chai is an extremely kind-hearted person and did not know of his mother's illegal activities. She also fell in love with him and was extremely conflicted. She wanted to leave her troubled past behind and build a new life with Pad Chai, but on the other hand, she wanted to avenge her mother, and Pad Chai was Busara's son. One day, she packed her belongings and left for her hometown to care for her ailing mother, who was Naiwei, and only wrote Pad Chai a note to inform him. He was heartbroken and sad. Thicha met Naiwei and she asked if she had feelings for Pad Chai. Thicha admitted that Pad Chai is a good man and said they should not make use of him for their revenge. Thicha received a call from Pad Chai, confessing to her on how much he misses her and he wants to spend the rest of his life with her. He proposes to her. She was touched by his words and agrees, but insisted that they should leave at Pad Chai's family mansion instead, as she needs to take care of her mother. The next day, Pad Chai returned and took Thicha to his mother's grand estate. A maid, named Fu, greeted them and she noticed bruises on her hand, hinting at Busara's absentee behavior. As they explored the mansion, Thicha discovered that the spot where her mother was buried had been turned into a study room with a large tree growing on the site. This unsettling realization left her feeling deeply disturbed and traumatized, and brought tears to her eyes as she can feel her late mother in front of her. Although anger surged through her and she wanted to confront Busara, she kept her composure and handed Busara a unique sculpture for her to display in her room. Busara was unimpressed and asked Thicha to leave them alone for a moment. Thicha stepped out and Busara lashed out at her son, criticizing his choice of such an arrogant woman, but Pad Chai insisted on marrying Thicha. Meanwhile, Thicha noticed the maid's bruises and felt empathy toward her, as it reminded her of her young self. Pad Chai told Thicha that they should leave the mansion, but Busara pleaded with him to stay, and surprisingly, Thicha also convinced him to remain at the mansion as she needed to be close to her mom. That night, Thicha began spying on Busara using a hidden camera that she placed inside the sculpture she gave her. She watched Busara's movements and learned that she was expecting a secret delivery at midnight. Thicha sneaked downstairs in the middle of the night and saw Busara receiving a delivery from two unknown men. She attempted to record the scene, but Busara sensed someone watching her and went to investigate. She found Thicha smoking in the garden and she held a casual conversation with Busara to not arouse her suspicions. Busara warned her to not roam the garden at night. The next day, Thicha met Naiwei and shared her findings. She revealed that Busara received a large sum of money and suspected it came from her illegal business of exploiting migrants. Naiwei was enraged and suggested seizing the money to return to these people. However, Thicha said that accessing the money seemed nearly impossible without help. Busara suggested to meet Thicha's mom as the wedding was round the corner, and Thicha requested for Naiwei to join them at the pre-wedding party at the mansion. Naiwei arrived at the party and Busara and her friends were taken aback by Naiwei's extravagant attire and expensive jewelry, suspecting she was pretending to be wealthy. Later, Busara approached Naiwei and belittles her, claiming that a couple should be of the same financial status for the marriage to succeed. She was clearly hinting that Thicha is not suitable for Pad Chai, but Naiwei stood her ground and told Busara that it was Pad Chai who proposed to Thicha and not the other way around, and if she had any concerns, she should speak to her son instead. Deep down, Naiwei felt relieved that Pad Chai is genuinely kind and nothing like his evil manipulative mother. Suddenly, Maddie, visibly drunk, appeared at the mansion, creating a scene. Busara quickly ushered him inside and Maddie threatened her and insisted that Busara sent him one of her workers, otherwise he will expose the secret beneath the massive tree. Although Busara warned him not to act up, his words left her unsettled. When Busara returned to the gathering, she ordered Fu to take care of Maddie. When Thicha heard that, she is shaken up as memories of her traumatic past with him resurface. Inside the room, Fu struggled to handle the drunk Maddie, who became aggressive and hugged her. Thicha intervened and stormed in, demanding that Maddie leaves Fu alone. When he refused and became violent, Thicha broke a flower vase to threaten him. A scuffle ensues and Thicha's hand was cut. Pad Chai and Busara arrived and sensed the tension in the room. To avoid further complications, Thicha remained silent about what Maddie did. Later, Fu was thankful to Thicha for protecting her. Thicha however told her that she will need her help in the future. Busara had a private conversation with her son, told him that he can go ahead to get married, but she does not want them to register their marriage legally so that it will be easier for them to part ways if they do not get along in the future. Padchai said that he will leave the decision to Thicha and allowed Busara to handle wedding arrangements. When Padchai returned to the room, Thicha surprised him by mentioning the idea of not registering their marriage as she did not want to deal with the hassle and suggested that they can make it official when they are older, implying that she intends to be together with him for the rest of her life. Padchai was moved by her words, strengthening his commitment to her. The next day, Busara surprised everyone by enthusiastically organizing Padchai and Thicha wedding ceremony herself. She seemed unusually cheerful and even visited Thicha with a glass of wine, which Thicha hesitantly accepted, despite her suspicions of Busara's ulterior motive. Busara also gifted Thicha a beautifully designed diamond necklace, cryptically whispering in her ear, "You'll never forget this day." As the couple dances together in front of the guests, Busara gave a sinister grin. Suddenly, Thicha collapsed and vomited blood, and everyone was worried. The night before, Thicha and Busara had a tense conversation after the incident between Maddie and Fu. Thicha had defended the maid and Busara told her that she should stay out of her business, claiming that she owned these workers. Thicha threatened Busara that if Fu was harmed, she would expose everything to Padchai and he will hate her. Busara was furious and wanted to teach Thicha a lesson, laced her food with poison. Padchai and Naiwei rushed Thicha to the hospital where the doctor managed to save her life. However, as the doctor was a close friend of Busara, he lied about the cause of her condition, attributing it to a severe food allergy instead of poisoning. Later the doctor privately confronts Sarah, expressing concern that she would give such a dangerous substance to her future daughter-in-law, and Busara said she only wanted to give Thicha a warning and not kill her. Padchai is deeply shaken for Thicha's safety and told her that they should return to London immediately. Busara, desperate to keep her son by her side, told Padchai that they should stay as Thicha needs to care for her ailing mother, and Padchai suggested that Naiwei could live with them in London. Busara became extremely jealous that her son prioritized his mother-in-law over her. The next morning when Thicha regained consciousness, Naiwei informed her about the poisoning and revealed that the doctor covered it up as a food allergy. Naiwei advised her to find other ways to avenge her mother's death as it was too dangerous, but Thicha said that she needs to put an end to this. When Padchai visited Thicha, she apologizes to him though he's unsure why. He reassures her that they will head back to London as soon as she recovers completely. Back at the mansion, Thicha secretly slips a note to Fu asking her to meet later that night. Thicha came back home to recuperate and Busara feigned sympathy over her sudden illness and said that she would be sad when they leave for London. However, Thicha shot her a grin back. Later that night, Fu met Thicha at their secret location and Thicha asked Fu to help her gain access to Busara's private room. Fu hesitated as she was afraid about getting caught, but Thicha insisted that she needed to do this to stop Busara and Maddie from harming her and the others. The next morning, Busara sips on her morning tea and goes for a swim, and she suddenly felt unwell and begins vomiting blood in the pool. Thicha, aware of the situation, suggested that Padchai checked on his mother to see if she wanted something to eat. However, he found his mom struggling in the pool and quickly rescued her and rushed her to the hospital. Thicha said she was too unwell to accompany them, but in fact, she wanted to carry out her plan while Busara was not around. That evening, Fu pretended to clean the ceiling and covers the security camera, giving Thicha the chance to sneak into Busara's private room. Thicha replaced the batteries in the hidden camera she had installed earlier and searched the room for evidence. Suddenly, the gardener came to check the room and she was forced to leave but managed to avoid being caught. The next day, Busara regained consciousness and learned from her doctor friend that she was poisoned with the same drug she had used on Thicha. Furious, Busara checks the CCTV footage and saw that Thicha had entered her private room. Thicha met with Fu again, asking her to cover the camera once more. Fu refused as she was afraid of getting caught. Desperate, Thicha showed her the scar on her neck, the same scar that all of Busara's workers bear, explaining that they are both victims. Fu was touched and reluctantly agreed to help her one last time, Meanwhile, Busara grew suspicious and ordered her men to investigate Thicha and Niwe's background and instructed the gardener to inspect her private room for anything unusual. The gardener found the maid cleaning a broken light bulb but did not say anything. Padchai informed Thicha that Busara's illness was caused by stress and was diagnosed with a weak heart condition. Thicha suggested that they both stay instead of going back to London so that they can take care of their mothers. Padchai agrees, unaware of Thicha's true intentions. The next morning, Busara returns from the hospital, and Thicha takes her inside. Busara mentioned that her doctor informed her she had been poisoned with a deadly drug. Thicha whispered in Busara's ears that her doctor told her the same thing. When Busara pressures Thicha of her intentions, she calmly replies that she is simply trying to be a responsible daughter-in-law and a loving wife. This exchange between them deepened the tension between them, and from that day forward, both women became even more cautious of each other, secretly plotting against one another. When Busara spots Fu frequently cleaning the spot near the CCTV, she grows suspicious and confronts her and asks the maid to prepare something special for the next day. Busara intentionally broke a wine glass and kept a piece of broken glass with malicious intent. Unbeknownst to Busara, Thicha is monitoring her every move through the hidden camera. The next morning, Busara serves a dessert, claiming that she learned the recipe online. Thicha is suspicious of her motives and hesitates, but eats the dessert when Busara ate it. Moments later, she rushed to the bathroom and digged out a piece of broken glass from her mouth. However, as she did not want Padchai to know, she lied and claimed she was unwell but is fine now. Determined to provoke Busara, Thicha announced that she is pregnant, and this made Busara furious. Busara did not believe her and insisted that they visit the doctor for a pregnancy test. When Thicha realized she was in trouble, she contacted Niwe for help. Niwe arranges for a pregnant nurse to provide a urine sample at the hospital. However, during the test, Busara told her to give the sample in the room instead of letting her go to the toilet. Thicha is trapped and unable to switch the samples, and reluctantly complies. Later, the doctor returns with shocking news that Thicha is indeed pregnant. Both Busara and Thicha are shocked and overwhelmed by the unexpected outcome. Thicha stormed out of the room and began to cry, realizing the gravity of the situation. Padchai followed her and comforted her, assuring her that they will be great parents. He hugged her tightly. However, Thicha is torn between guilt and love and was conflicted. Busara received a call from Maddie, who informed her of an issue with their illegal operations. The police officers facilitating their activities are demanding higher payments per person they smuggle. Busara refused to comply but grows anxious when one of the officers warned her of the potential legal consequences. Back at the mansion, Busara ordered the gardener to remove the bodies buried beneath the trees in the garden. Thicha watched everything from her balcony. The next day, Thicha met with Niwe to share what she saw. However, Niwe more concerned about Thicha's decision to keep her baby while seeking revenge against Busara. Thicha assures her that she truly loved Padchai and wants to keep the child. Niwe told her that she can put a stop to everything and lead a peaceful life with Padchai abroad before it is too late. Thicha explained that avenging her mother's death is not her only goal, but she also wants to put a stop to Busara's inhumane business practices. As there are more bodies hidden in the garden, Niwe agreed to help Thicha gather evidence against Busara, but insist that Padchai should never find out who she truly is. Later, Busara attempts to purchase a house for Padchai and her future grandchild, but he politely declines, stating that he wants to support his family with his own hard-earned money. During dinner, Busara suggested that they go to London to inspect the house. Thicha said that she did not want to travel far and had to take care of her mother, and asked Padchai to go ahead first. She also requested that Fu accompanied her to London to take care of her, and Fu was excited at the news. However, Busara becomes enraged and even punished her by pouring hot tea on her bare body for speaking without permission. The next morning, Padchai departs for London, and Thicha warned Busara to prepare Fu's documents, otherwise she will expose all her secrets to Padchai. Thicha moves to stay with Niwe. Back in London, Padchai bumps into a few friends who Thicha said are her friends, but they said that they have not heard about Thicha. He grew suspicious and went to visit the company that Thicha claimed to work at, only to discover from the receptionist that Thicha does not work there. This revelation left him confused and heartbroken. Meanwhile, Thicha met with Niwe and played a recorded conversation between Busara and a man discussing the death of 3 construction workers at one of her projects. The recording revealed Busara's attempts to cover up the incident to protect herself from any legal consequences. This evidence strengthened Thicha's resolve to expose Busara, but she knew she had to find more concrete evidence, and time was running out. Later that night, Fu heard strange noises and saw the gardener digging in the garden and informed Thicha. Thicha asked her to discreetly take pictures of the scene. Meanwhile in London, Padchai struggles with the revelation of Thicha's lies. The next morning while packing his belongings, he found Thicha's hairpin and suddenly recalled a memory from his past. He came back to visit his mom during his teenage years, and that night he saw a girl clutching the same hairpin as 2 men carried her away. When he rushed home, he stumbled upon his mother with blooded clothes and burying a body in the garden. This dawns on him that Thicha came into his life to seek revenge. The next day, the voice clip of Busara discussing the construction worker's death goes viral and Maddie becomes the prime suspect, tarnishing both his and Busara's reputation. As tensions arose, a delivery arrived at Busara's house from Maddie, and Fu informed Thicha, who instructed her to check the contents. Busara grew increasingly paranoid and began to suspect the sculpture Thicha gifted to her may contain a hidden camera. Before she managed to check out the sculpture, Fu managed to snap a photo of the contents and quickly came to the room to hand the package to Busara. As Busara opened the box, it was a letter from Maddie asking her to meet him at a secret location. Busara grew suspicious of Fu and ordered to check her phone but found nothing incriminating. Furious, she ordered Fu to pack her belongings and move to Maddie's house. This made her terrified. That night as Thicha and Niwe waited outside Busara's mansion, they spotted them leaving in a car and followed them to a container port. Thicha began filming Busara and Maddie but suddenly received a call from Padchai, who followed her and was sitting in the car behind her. He wanted to know her true identity and intentions. Thicha was in tears but she continued filming and did not answer his call. Padchai stepped out of the car to confront her. Meanwhile, Busara met with Maddie and a corrupt cop and they blamed her for the leaked recording, accusing her of betrayal. Busara realized that Fu might have betrayed her and dragged her into a shipping container to kill her. Padchai and Thicha witnessed this, and as Niwe signaled her men to intervene, Thicha charged ahead to save Fu. When a corrupt cop heard noises, he went out to search for intruders. Before he spotted Thicha, Padchai appeared and pulled her away. Suddenly, a car explodes nearby, drawing everyone's attention and creating chaos. Busara and her accomplices panicked and attempted to flee. Niwe took Thicha and Padchai to her house and left them to talk. Padchai demanded the truth, and he showed her the hairpin and asked about her identity and what was the relationship between her and his mother. Thicha remained silent and Padchai continued talking about his struggles with depression and panic attacks after witnessing the scene on the day Thicha's mother was killed. She finally revealed the abuse that she and her mother endured at the hands of his mother. She showed him the scar that Busara caused and explained that she could endure everything and never made a sound, but her mother died anyway. Padchai felt deeply saddened that she had gone through so much. The next morning, he confessed his love for her and asked him if she could love him more than she hated his mother, and Thicha said that it depended on whether he can choose justice over his mom. She revealed that Busara has been trafficking innocent people and even sends girls to Maddie's house for them to be sexually abused. She also shared that her mother's body is buried under the tree in Busara's private room. She said that there are many other bodies buried in the mansion and asked Padchai to make the choice between justice or his mother. Padchai was shocked and conflicted after hearing everything. Meanwhile, Busara wanted to dig up the skeleton's remains of Thicha's late mother to hide the evidence. During this time, Busara gets a call from Maddie who informs her that Thicha's mother is an immigrant worker and that Thicha is using a dead person identity. Busara smashed the sculpture and realized that Thicha was the one who leaked the audio clips about her. Thicha, however, is more concerned about the safety of Fu, who was taken away by Maddie and was determined to save her. Thicha went ahead with her mission, and that night Maddie is seen at home enjoying his time with Fu. The next morning Busara discovered Thicha's true identity, that she was Wu Yi, the daughter of the maid she killed. She was shocked by the discovery. When Padchai arrived at the mansion, she informed him that Thicha lied about her identity, though he already knows the truth. Padchai drags his mother into her private room and spotted the gardener digging the tree. Padchai claimed that he knows what is beneath the tree, but Busara dismissed his claims and accused Thicha of being a liar who manipulated him. However, little did she know, her son witnessed the horrific events on that day and knows the true nature of his mother. He cannot understand how she could harm innocent people, especially someone like Thicha and her mother, who never wronged her. Busara defended herself and said that everything she did was for him and his future. Busara realized that she had no way out, so she told her son that she is ready to change and become a better person and accept Thicha if he put this all behind. However, Padchai demanded that Busara must face the consequences of her crime, including going to jail. When Padchai asked her about the maid's whereabouts, she got angry and accused him of being an ungrateful son who valued a maid over his own mom. Disgusted by his own mother, he leaves the mansion. Meanwhile, Maddie receives a call from Busara asking for a photo of Fu. Thicha, desperate to save the maid, also received the photo and a call from Busara asking her to meet later. Maddie tried to assault the maid again, but this time she found the courage to fight back. In a desperate act of self-defense, she slashed Maddie with a knife. Maddie quickly called their doctor friend for help. Thicha was determined to avenge her mother's death and bring Busara to justice. At Maddie's house, the doctor arrives and is horrified to find Fu gravely abused. He kicked Maddie twice and helped the maid. However, Fu was consumed by rage and used a pair of scissors to kill Maddie and exact her revenge. The doctor told her that she needed to face legal consequences, however, he will act as her witness in court. When Fu revealed that Thicha will be exposing Busara's crimes, he called Padchai and urged him to check on Thicha, who went to confront Busara alone. Thicha arrives at the mansion and went into the private room. Busara mocked her and her late mother, but told Thicha that since she was carrying her grandchild, she wanted to end things amicably. She said that she would release the maid and give her money if she left the country with her son and abandoned her request for revenge. When Busara called Maddie, a police officer picked up the phone and she turned on the television and learned that Maddie was dead and blamed Thicha for her downfall. As their argument escalated, she strangled Thicha and they fought fiercely. As she was trying to hit Thicha, Padchai arrived and tried to defuse the situation. However, Busara grabbed a gun and fired at Thicha, but the bullet struck Padchai. Both women are left in shock as he collapses. Thicha desperately asked Busara to call for help, but she refused as she did not want the authorities to discover the bodies buried on the property. When Thicha called for help, Busara attacked her with a saw to stop her. When she regained consciousness, she is devastated to learn that Padchai has succumbed to his injuries, leaving her heartbroken. Busara, determined to escape justice, attempted to kill her. As she strangled her, Thicha grabbed one of her mother's bones nearby and hit her. After that, Busara grabs a saw wanting to kill her, and she used her mother's bone to stab Busara. Thicha is devastated but gathered herself and went to the police station to report Busara's crime and surrenders. But she requests to listen to Padchai's last voicemail to her first. He expressed his unwavering love for her, assuring her that her past does not define her and they should live happily ever after and look ahead. Upon hearing this, Thicha broke down and she is left all alone again in this world.